ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Conakry. Good afternoon and thank you for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide at wadr.org. This is Newslink. First, our headline stories. Beninese army urges discipline and neutrality among troops ahead of April 12 elections. Nigerians doubt democratic future of the country after conventions by two major political parties.
All Nigerians want to see is noticeable changes.
The earlier we know the people we're voting for, the better for us.
A court in Banjul declares individuals accused of fatal shooting of police officers in September 2023. And President Mahama of Ghana shelves legislation on same-sex relations to prioritize development issues. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Sankulu Jibril Janko.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Newslink begins with an update from Benin as the country prepares for the crucial April 12 presidential election. Ahead of the vote, the Beninese Armed Forces says it is stepping up security measures to protect the territorial integrity in the current political context. In a statement, the General Staff emphasized the military's strict political neutrality during the electoral period. Augustine Colley has more in the following report.
Signed by the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Fatrig Bagidi, the message is addressed to all soldiers deployed across the national territory. It warns against any form of partisan involvement and calls for strict respect of Republican values. The army must remain apolitical and impartial, the Benin's military chief insists. In this electoral period, the High Command reminds soldiers in the field and in barracks that they must serve the nation exclusively. Military personnel are urged to show restraint in both words and actions to avoid any political interpretation of their behavior. The statement also highlights the importance of respecting electoral laws, maintaining professional reserve, and upholding military discipline. All of this, the High Command says, will help guarantee the credibility of the institution and preserve public trust. Military authorities also stress the key role of defense forces in maintaining peace and public order in the current context. Regardless of the outcome of the April 12 vote, the Army pledges to ensure institutional stability and the safety of the population. It is worth recalling that Benin experienced an attempted coup in December 2025 when a group of soldiers tried to overthrow the government before being defeated by loyalist forces. More than 7 million voters are expected to go to the polls on April 12 to elect their new president.
A report by WDR's Aziz Adam Sule in Cotonou, voiced by Augustine Colley. Over the weekend, Nigeria's the two major political parties, the ruling All Progressive Congress and the opposition People's Democratic Party, held their national conventions. Both gatherings drew thousands of delegates and party leaders from the 36 states of the Federation. But beyond the speeches, the slogans and power moves, one question remains. What does all of this mean for ordinary Nigerians? Abuja correspondent Yechenu Sasetu has responses in this report.
From Abuja to Lagos, conversations around the conventions have been loud in political circles. Unity, leadership, and preparations for 2027. But outside those halls of power, many Nigerians are asking a simpler question. Will anything really change for me?
There's nothing we can point and say, oh, this part of this country is working and working efficiently. There's always something wrong.
At this point, Nigeria needs a lot of restructuring. It's more like we're having the same pot, but different ingredients.
Irrespective of the meeting, the change in the structure, the change in leadership, all Nigerians want to see is noticeable changes.
The earlier we know the people we're voting for, the better for us, because it will always remain the same.
While the opposition People's Democratic Party battles internal rift, the All Progressives Congress is projecting unity and stability. But for political commentator Ugochukwu Bamidele, the real test lies in how these decisions affect citizens' daily realities.
Who exactly is taking responsibility for the daylight robbery that's happening tonight
Nigerians, a people blessed by their maker with resources that doesn't benefit them, but only benefits a few who have weaponized hunger.
According to him, these conventions do not translate into policies.
It's simple power consolidation among the elites to favor their gain. There is nothing about this that is a genuine effort to reconnect with ordinary Nigerians.
For millions of Nigerians, they consider the price of food, the cost of transportation, and access to jobs and healthcare as the metrics to judge leadership. As both parties look ahead to the next election cycle, Nigerians are watching, not just for promises, but for impact. For WADR, Hichinus Asitu in Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Plateau State government in the north-central Nigeria has imposed a 48-hour curfew in Jos North following a deadly attack on a Sunday. The assault by suspected bandits in Angwang, Rukoba left at least 30 people dead and several others injured. The curfew, announced by Information Commissioner Joyce Lawyer Ramnap, took effect from midnight on March 29 to April 1 after the incident heightened tensions in the area. Governor Caleb Muftwang condemned the attack as barbaric and unprovoked and assured residents that security forces have been deployed to restore order and bring those responsible to justice.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Mali, the army has broken its silence regarding reports of a possible release of hundreds of terrorists to facilitate fuel deliveries into the country. The director of the Directorate of Information and Public Relations of the Armed Forces provided clarifications on the issue on Monday. He also addressed regional challenges amid tensions with certain neighboring countries and the fight against terrorism. Osman Omar Jones with details.
Colonel Major Suleimani Dembele first outlined the security situation in the country marked by a persistent territorial threat, while several international media outlets reported last week on the possible release of hundreds of terrorist fighters. The head of DIRPA family denied the information, describing it as disinformation campaign.
False information has been circulating, claiming that our country released hundreds of terrorists to facilitate fuel supplies. These statements, relayed by some media outlets, are intended to damage Mali's image. This is pure manipulation, baseless and without any credible source. Some media have also tried to suggest the existence of agreements with terrorists. These are further attempts to discredit our army and sow doubt among the public.
He also lamented tensions observed with certain neighboring countries without naming them, a situation he considers worrying given the threat along the borders. To address this, he called for stronger cooperation among countries in the region in the fight against terrorism.
We call on Mali's neighbors to act responsibly and recognize that leniency has never led to restraint among terrorist armed groups. This threat can only be effectively contained if all concerned states fully commit to the fight against terrorism.
This statement comes as tensions rise along the border between Mali and Mauritania. Mauritanian authorities accuse the Malian army of abuse against their citizens, an accusation to which Bamako has yet to respond.
Osman Omar with that report by our Bamako correspondent, Aliu Cham. Away from the Sahel, the European Union West Africa Business Forum continues this Tuesday in Côte d'Ivoire. The focus is on mobilizing financing to complete key transport corridors across West Africa. Political leaders and private investors will discuss funding for the Abidjan-Lagos and Abidjan-Ouagadougou routes during the forum until Wednesday. More details in this report by Imo Edit.
This high-level meeting, co-organized by the Ivorian government and the European Union, is seen as crucial for financing road infrastructure across a significant part of the West African region. It aims to improve the flow of trade between 6 West African countries. Discussions at the forum cover the entire value chain: roads, maritime freight, rail, industrial logistics, and urban mobility. Ultimately, the goal is a structural transformation of the regional economy through reduced transport costs and delays, smoother border crossings, the sustainable professionalization of the logistics sector, and a low environmental footprint of transport. Additionally, for Côte d'Ivoire, the objective is to become a logistic hub for a West African market of over 400 million people. European partners, including the European Investment Bank, have expressed their readiness to support bankable projects. This business forum aims to transform the Abuja-Lagos and Abidjan-Ouagadougou corridors into true drivers of shared and sustainable growth in West Africa.
Ibo added a reporting. Still on the economic front, the National Fisheries and Agriculture Authority of Liberia has launched the National Fisheries Investment Conference 2026. For 2 days, regional ministers, development partners, private investors, and local fishing communities will deliberate on the theme Unlocking the Blue Horizons, the future of fisheries and the blue economy. Liberia seeks to leverage the high-level meeting to harness marine resources for sustainable growth, create jobs, improve food security, and reduce reliance on fish imports. From Monrovia, WDI's Ibrahim Parker reports.
During the keynote address, President Joseph Boakai said Liberia's ocean web must no longer bypass its people, highlighting key progress already made in the fisheries sector, including a €25 million grant from the European Union to support artisanal fisheries. The state has also partnered with local tech companies to roll out mobile payments and solar-powered cold storage.
The design for Liberia Fisheries Harbour is nearing completion, and the construction of a new national fishery complex is expected to begin later this year. These investments will create a modern hub for fishery management, logistics, and private sector engagement.
Also speaking, World Bank Country Manager Georgia Wallen outlined ongoing initiatives and their impact on the sector.
We're investing and supporting Liberia to invest in catalytic investments, including the new clay hatchery, the Sea King, Liberia's first semi-industrial fishing vessel made of fiberglass, incubator program. We're supporting Liberia to invest in modernization of NAFA.
The regional conference has also enabled the launch of 3 key policy frameworks: a 10-year national fisheries strategic plan, an investment plan, and a public-private partnership strategy to guide Liberia's fisheries sector over the next decade. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
The High Court in Banjul has acquitted and discharged Usaini Bojang and his sister Ami Bojang in the high-profile case linked to the fatal shooting of 2 police officers in September 2023. The two had been standing trial on multiple charges, including murder and accessory to a crime. The acquittal brings an end to a case that has drawn significant public attention and concern over the past months. But as the WDR Sang Donald Mendy reports, the state will appeal the decision.
Usaini Bojang faced multiple charges, including murder, attempted murder, and acts of terrorism. His sister, Ami Bojang, was accused of being an accessory after allegedly helping him flee to Senegal. However, in a detailed 130-page judgment, Justice Ibrahim Jaite ruled that the prosecution failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt, leading to the acquittal and discharge of both accused persons. Following the ruling, Defense Counsel Lamin J. Dabo addressed the media.
Innocent people were followed, arrested, were persecuted, and eventually dragged to court with the hope that the courts would close their eyes and convict and imprison innocent people.
Meanwhile, the state has announced plans to appeal the decision at the Court of Appeal, setting the stage for a fresh legal battle. In Banjul, citizens have been reacting to the acquittal and release of the two.
As for now, justice have been served, but since they appeal, the case is going to start again and it's going to take time.
Trying to do any appeal is just like wasting government resources.
Human rights activist Madi Jobate also shared his views on the ruling.
The police had no case against this man. He was wrongly accused and, wrongly detained. So this is a gross violation of Usainu and Ami's human rights.
Police constables Sangye Gomez and Pate Jallo were shot and killed on September 12, 2023, while on duty at the Sukta Jabang Junction. A third officer, Ansi Jawo, sustained serious injuries in the attack. The acquittal of Ousainou Bojang and his sister, Ami Bojang, marks a major development in a case that has drawn public attention since 2023. But many citizens are still asking who is responsible for the killing of the two police officers and are calling on authorities to provide answers. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Sangdona Mendy reporting from Banjul.
All more on judicial matters. The appeal hearing of a former Gambian minister sentenced to 20 years in prison began in Bellinzona, Switzerland on a Monday. Osman Sonko was sentenced in May 2024 by the Swiss Federal Criminal Court for crimes against humanity committed between 2000 and 2016. Arrested in 2017, Sonko became the highest-ranking official convicted in Europe under universal jurisdiction. The court found the 57-year-old former state official guilty of killings, torture and illegal detention, including abuses linked to a 2006 coup plot and crackdown on protesters in 2016. Sonko, prosecutors and several plaintiffs have all appealed different parts of the ruling. The hearings are expected to last until April 17, allowing a period of 2 weeks for victims traveling from the Gambia to attend. The case is part of wider efforts to bring justice for abuses committed during Jammeh's rule, as the Gambia moves towards setting up a special tribunal. You're listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Beninese army urges discipline and neutrality among troops ahead of April 12 elections. Nigerians doubt the democratic future of the country after conventions by two major political parties. A court in Banjul clears individuals accused of a fatal shooting of police officers in September 2023. Still ahead in the news, President Mahama of Ghana solves legislation on same-sex relations to prioritize development issues. We also have press review, guest interview, and in sports news, the Gambia is said to take on Senegal here in Diamniadio. Please stay with us for more.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama has described the ongoing LGBTQ+ debate as sensitive but not the country's most urgent concern. Speaking at a presidential dialogue with civil society at Jubilee House, John Mahama stressed the need to balance constitutional principles, human rights and national unity while improving livelihoods and access to essential services. He is rather urging a shift in focus toward pressing development challenges. From Accra, Nadi Dictator reports.
President Mahama says the LGBTQI+ debate, though significant, is not Ghana's most urgent challenge. He told civil society groups that the country is still grappling with key issues including education, healthcare, employment, and access to basic necessities. The president noted that the ongoing discussions, driven in part by a private member's bill before Parliament, reflect deeply held views but must be handled through dialogue, democratic processes, and the rule of law.
Regarding LGBTQ+ issues, it remains a highly emotive and sensitive issue, even in the most advanced liberal democracies. I explained during my recent engagement with the World Affairs Council that it's not the most important issue we face as a nation. We're still grappling with the provisions of basic needs of education, healthcare, jobs, food, clothing, and shelter. Our position is guided by our Constitution, respect for human rights and dignity of all persons, and the need to preserve social cohesion. While there are strong and differing views within our society, we believe that these issues must be addressed through democratic processes, our core values, dialogue, and the rule of law.
The president also acknowledged international reactions, including the withdrawal of an honorary doctorate by the Lincoln University in the United States of America.
I'm also mindful of reactions from our international partners, including the recent developments such as Lincoln University's withdrawal of their honorary doctorate. These developments underscore the importance of continued engagement and mutual respect, and of situating our national decisions within our constitutional and cultural context.
He reaffirmed Ghana's commitment to democratic values, human dignity, and constructive global engagement. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
Today's press review takes us back to Liberia, where WDR's Abraham Parker is standing by with the press review.
This edition features 3 local dailies. We begin with the New Dawn newspaper with these stories. Former Finance Minister Tue, trial erupts over photocopy evidence as a judge overrules defenses. Liberia moves to attract global futurist investment. Our next stop is the Independent newspaper. Money sector cracks as billions slip out. State struggles for evidence against Samuel Tue. Others, checks omitted. Accountability on a spotlight. I will produce tire by June 2028. Jetty, a private operator in Liberia, eyes US 18 million factory expansion. Corruption claims surface at Labor Ministry. And a guest feature says, Guinea restored political participation and freedom of expression. Our last stop is front page Africa newspaper. The embassy somersaults. French embassy refutes ambassador's claim of Bouaka Macron call, contradicting ambassador's earlier remarks. We are disappointed. Veterans and advocates angry as government stays silent over bribery allegations in country's biggest human trafficking case as the suspects release date nears. That does it for this edition of Press Review from Liberia's capital, Monrovia. Thanks so kindly for listening.
Many thanks to Abraham Parker for the press review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Our guest this afternoon is Ogochukwu Bamidele, a political commentator. Over the weekend, 2 major political parties, the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, and the opposition People's Democratic Party, held their national conventions. Their goal was to restructure, reorganize, and convince Nigerians of their programs ahead of the 2027 general elections. However, speaking to WADR's Yechenusa Setu in Abuja, Bamidele says the conventions are far from connecting with Nigerians' daily realities.
Thank you for speaking with us. Let me start with this. From what we saw this weekend, would you say these conventions were more about power consolidation among elites or genuine efforts to reconnect with Nigerians?
It's simple. From what we saw over the weekend, there is nothing about this that is a genuine effort to reconnect with ordinary Nigerians. Can anybody beat their chest and say that from the speeches, whether at the PDP or the APC, whether it was Mr. President's speech at the APC Congress or at the convention, that's convincing enough? What are the basis for any of these political parties at the moment to even be convening to ask Nigerians to vote anybody that they produce? Have they kept to their bargain? Have they kept to their promises? The PDP for 16 years, did it keep to its promise? The APC now, since 2015 up until now, it's 11 years this year. And they look like a continuation of the bastardization of public office, public funds, and everything that the PDP stood for with worse arrogance. I mean, for me, it's simple. It was simply a power-sharing agreement that happened at this convention. Nothing much.
Now, the PDP convention happened despite internal crises and court disputes. What message does that send to citizens about accountability and rule of law?
The message it sends is simple, especially with the PDP convention happening despite internal crises and court disputes. Nigerian politicians do not care about accountability and the rule of law. They care about a power grab. Look at the PDP and what is playing out within the PDP. Some persons want the party in their pockets to favor and forward their own political agenda, even if it doesn't favor internal party politics. So if you ask me what message the PDP convention holding in spite of the internal crisis which they've been unable to settle and court disputes which is currently ongoing, my answer is simple. They're showing we're lawless people as a party and don't look in our direction. And I think that somebody is deliberately fueling that to favor whoever their principal is, to favor their consolidation on their grab for power. It's very obvious, because if you want to fix a problem, you start first by fixing the concerns of everybody involved, and then you now move forward from there united. Can the PDP beat its chest and say that it can wrestle come 2027?
Let's talk about the APC. The party is pushing a narrative of consensus and stability, right? Do you think Nigerians actually feel that stability in their everyday lives?
Even before Nigerians begin to look at their own lives within the APC, have they been able to really get a consensus? Because the consensus is that we all together agree. Just like we see in the Constitution, we do solemnly agree. We the people. That's a consensus. We have come together to say we will live by this document. Can the APC beat its chest and say that the consensus it's been shouting about is really a consensus, or is it a coercion by the very powerful? Because, I mean, that's more of what it looks like. It's not a consensus. I don't agree. I beg to differ. It's simply powerful individuals, arm twisting, neck twisting to fall in line. That's basically what it is. We have refineries. We even have a private-owned refinery, which is the largest single-train refinery in the world at the moment. But that refinery has to source crude from outside because the Nigerian government, for whatever politics is playing, and Nigerians are suffering. Look at what power has looked like. So where would the stability come from? Is it from being able to produce, to earn income when you don't have power, and then you decide to depend on alternative power and you can't afford fuel, and then because of the price of fuel, the cost of every other thing has gone up. So even if you say you want to do solar, it's gone up also. The price has gone up. Stability for, Nigerians in their everyday life, we're far from whatever looks like the essence stability, and that's the truth.
So looking ahead to 2027, what should Nigerians be paying attention to now? Not as party members, but as citizens whose lives will be affected.
Looking ahead to 2027 is very simple. Nigerians should pay attention to the promises that were made before 2023. Nigerians need to look at the characters that are running in 2027. It's time for us to unite and say enough is enough. Unless maybe enough is not enough. Because again, I strongly do not believe that the political class is Nigeria's problem. We're tired of politicians who speak from both sides of their mouth. And that's the truth.
Ogochukwu Bomidele is a political commentator. Well, in sports, the Ghana Football Association has sacked head coach Otto Addo after poor results, including defeats to Austria and Germany. The FA cited a loss of confidence and dressing room issues. With just over 2 months to the World Cup, Ghana must quickly appoint a new head coach. Elsewhere, the appeals hearing for Senegalese fans arrested during the AFCON final in Morocco has been postponed to April 13 in Rabat. On the pitch, Senegal is set to face the Gambia today in a friendly as World Cup warm-up match for the Teranga Lions in Diamniadio, with the much anticipated kickoff set at 7 p.m. This is the first time Senegal will play at home after the controversial final against Morocco. And in boxing, Nigeria's Israel Adesina suffered a fourth straight defeat, losing to Joy Pierre in Seattle. We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa, the Macras Radio broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Umidanyogo for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram, and Facebook at WADR English. To our valued listeners, our website wadr.org is currently under maintenance. In the meantime, you can access our programs and news editions on SoundCloud and Audio Mag. Join Demba Amar Ann for the second edition of News in French, that is Info Chez vous, at 1 p.m. I am Sankule Jibril Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Radio Gulf FM 91.